Meanwhile, joining us right now from down in North Carolina, we got former Secretary of Education under President Reagan and the drug czar for President George Herbert Walker Bush, Mr. Bill Bennett. Bill, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Morning, guys.
So
hey, Admiral McCraven and Steve, is there a family resemblance there?
I know, absolutely.
It is shocking.
Long lost cousin.
No kidding.
Make their beds.
We do. Make your bed. Make your bed. So what do you make of what's going on out in Montana and all those people we just showed in that montage that are essentially saying that guy out in Montana was channeling Donald Trump?
Well, I know a little bit about moral theory. I wrote a book called The Book of Virtues. But I got to tell you, I'm astounded by the fact that it's blamed on Trump. So Trump, sort of Jedi-like from Europe, can levitate this reporter off the ground and slam him that it's Donald Trump's fault. It's not Donald Trump's fault. The reporter jumped in on the guy, came in on the guy a second time. As Gianforte said, it's the second time you've done it. Gianforte took ownership of this. He wasn't saying Donald Trump made me do it. By the way, I think it's over because he handled it so well at the victory party, saying he was sorry, apologized personally to the reporter. But let's remember, Montana is a physical culture. People deal with things a little differently than they do sometimes. You're not going to see this on the Asila very much, I'm going to tell you. But he handled it very, very well. Blaming Trump is, of course, what the Democrats want to do. May I just say, in terms of the issue of moral equivalence, is what Gianforte did worse than what John Edwards did, than what Bill Clinton did? How about Teddy Kennedy, who drowned a woman and then ran for re-election? This is on the moral scale,
president.
Pretty trivial. And he ran for president. This is pretty trivial, and he apologized. That issue, I think, is over. But to blame it on Trump is crazy, just crazy.
You think he would have won if it weren't for the mail-in votes?
I'm not sure. I think he might have picked up some more votes with this.
So
I think, you know, the displeasure with the press. And look, I've been in this situation. I remember carrying my older son, who was a little kid then, reporters in your face. I said, I need to get out of here. I need to get this child to someplace else, and they're just blocking your way. I know the temptation. It was wrong what he did. It was wrong what he did, but he apologized for it. That issue is over. But notice, the mainstream media is reacting more to this, more visceral reaction from the liberal media to this than to Manchester or to the other news you guys came out with this morning, which is the death of Christian Coptics. Are there any Christian Coptics left? How can there be any left?
It's unbelievable. But Bill, by the way, I interviewed you. I know you're a physical guy because you were a football player, and I talked to you about that. But I want to talk about what the president's going to do. When he comes home, the word is there's going to be some changes. And they're thinking about setting up, and in fact, it looks like they will, set up almost a war room to deal with the Russian attacks as well as their critics. How do you feel about that? Is that an overdoing of a situation?
No, it isn't. I learned one thing in Washington, and when I left Washington after, 8 or 9 years of service, they said, what'd you learn? I said, it's like football. You're on offense or you're on defense. And if you're not on offense, you're on defense. So they got to get more of their team. I do think they have good, strong people, but there aren't enough of them, as there are in a lot of the departments. So they need to beef that up. They need to be preemptive, and they got to, as Newt was saying on your show, guys, got to get after these leakers. This is really terrible.
You're right.
And these leaks are coming from the intelligence community, not a loyal intelligence community, but from the intelligence community.
Bill, what was your response when the president had the conversation with NATO and said, you all need to pay your fair share? There are only 5 of us that are paying into this.
You had a pan of the NATO group there listening to the president. It was hilarious. I mean, they were just so upset, let's put it that way. You know, they're being lectured. Isn't it ironic, guys, that the president got a warmer welcome in the Middle East, in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, than in Europe, you know, the womb of America? He was telling a lot of these countries, you're deadbeats, you know? You're living off the wealth of the land and the wealth of the United States. I think it was exactly right. He talked about this during the campaign. He also, in doing this, is reminding them of what the mortal threat is. And the mortal threat to them is not Donald Trump. The mortal threat is ISIS. It is at their throats. ISIS is at war with them. I'm not sure they know that they should be at war with ISIS.
Right, but they have done a lot for us in Afghanistan and Iraq, and NATO did, and we appreciate the fact.
Just pay what you promised, right?
Think about how much more they could do if we had more money.
All right, fine.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Hey, can I tell you?
Yes.
Can I tell you one quick McRaven story?
Yes.
When that book came out, when he gave that speech, I was on the radio, and I had a SEAL call up, and he said, I took that advice, but I got in trouble because the first thing I did was I made the bed, but my wife was still in the bed.
You know what? That's such an important thing. He forgot to put that in the book. Make sure the bed is empty when you're making it.
Right.
All right.
Right. Make sure no little kids are rolling around. Exactly right. Exactly right.
All right. Bill Bennett joining us from, I'm not going to say the island because he doesn't want a lot of people to know where he's
Stop
at.
it.
But it's beautiful
Stop
and it's
it.
in North Carolina.
I'm in the swamp. Just say I'm in the swamp. Okay.
Well,
okay.
somebody's trying to drain it. Good news. All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
Bill.
Bill.
Thanks.